My name's Tamsin Brown. I've been working with Morcott since 2021, I think was the first book. Um, I actually had been they said they've been working with me for my whole life, but I didn't know their name until 2021. I'd been giving messages to people, especially when somebody passed from this realm. Um, I would get a lot of messages for people about their path, staying on their path, getting on their path, doing as they feel without having any context for the information that was coming through me. And I was very uncomfortable with the messages as they first started to come up. And just wait for Bowie to settle here. That's my dog, Bowie. It's my favorite being. Good boy, Bowie. So I began to trust these messages as more and more and more came through after like over 100 had come through, and I had no context for any of the things that would just come out of my mouth. There was no intellectual calculation or no inner conversation whatsoever, no thought preceding the words. I would just suddenly say things that were very important to the person receiving them. Most of the time, people that I had no context for, I didn't know at all. And I started to realize that after many, many, many messages of me doing this, each time the person would say, I can't believe you just said that because of this, that, or the other, and give context that each message that I gave was validated over many years. So I started to really trust that it was just this thing that happens where I say something that I don't understand, but it's important for the other person, and I don't have to understand it. I just have to speak it accurately and make no assumptions nor projections upon the words that come through me, because I cannot possibly understand them. So I'm doing my job correctly by being accurate in the expression of what comes through. And then during lockdown, I started to work on the first channel book with Morcott, and it wasn't until last year, after writing the first two books, just before I published the second channel book, they disclosed to me that they are the Lumerian sector of the Galactic Federation, which was something they'd already told me they were Lumerians, and I'd become comfortable with that because I'd known that for at least a couple of years. But I had no idea, honestly, that the Galactic Federation was something that was even real, to be completely frank. I thought it sounded like something from a sci-fi. I worked in Hollywood for years, and I just thought, no, this is obviously, I can differentiate that as fiction, because that sounds like science fiction, even though I've worked in the business and I know that sometimes things are true that don't appear to be, and vice versa. But they disclosed to me only last autumn or fall that they are the Lumerian sector of the Galactic Federation. And I would have been really scared, I think, to be doing something as important as speaking for them if I'd have been informed of that from the very beginning. So it's been a journey for me becoming comfortable with such a high responsibility, and I take it incredibly seriously, and I understand that my one job is to speak and write their words with great accuracy. And my own experience, my own ego, my own ideas, philosophies, interpretations, none of those are relevant when I'm speaking for Morcott. You know, I can express those at dinner parties if I want to or whatever, but I'm very grateful for the job that I have working with Morcott, and it is my greatest responsibility to speak exactly what they say with great accuracy and never to interrupt in any subtle or extreme way what comes through with my own projections, because that's something that I think channels are challenged with sometimes. I've noticed it, frankly, in other people's material. And I think it is truly one of the most humbling jobs you can ever do. I can't I can prepare for this. And like I mentioned, I used to act. Like when you're acting, you learn all your lines. You will develop a character. You get to know, you rehearse certain details. For me, I would learn my lines so well that I could almost forget them, and I felt so free with them. And I would be very, very prepared for the roles that I would take on. So to suddenly sit up here and just speak what comes through with no apparent control over any of it is petrifying, to be honest. It's so the opposite of what I'm used to doing, that I understand the great responsibility that it is and the gift to me that it is to be able to do that. I'm learning so much from it, and I don't understand everything that comes through. I'm sure a lot of the audience members would understand some of what comes through even better than I do. In the moment the information flows through me, I understand it because I'm in a merged state with them. So vibrationally, I can completely conceive of it and understand. But that doesn't mean that after the fact I will be able to. It's a lot like when you're in a dream state. It's like a semi-trance that I'm in. So I often won't remember anything that's come through after a one-on-one session or a podcast recording like this. But then if I reread something I've written or watch a tiny bit of it, I'll be like, oh yeah, that's right. Just like you might be like, oh, that's right. I remember my whole dream now because my head just touched the pillow again. I remembered that one detail. It's a lot like that. So I hope that gives you a tiny bit of context on the work that I'm doing. And yeah, I appreciate anyone who is open to the material that's coming through me. It's helped me so much to understand reality. And I have so much more to learn. And like Morcott says, while we're upon this plane, there is always more to learn. And I'm grateful for the position that I have because I'm able to be essentially working as a scribe for the material. So I'm immersed in it all the time. So it's really helpful for me, and I hope that it's helpful for you guys too. Let's see if Morcott wants to sign off with anything, or I don't expect we have any questions. I think we're good to continue, right? I'm going to tune back into Morcott. There was one other thing I wanted to say as Tamsin. I feel like they're giving me a nudge to say something. Let me ask them what it is. Oh, they're saying I haven't explained my process at all. Okay. Yeah, they're absolutely right. Okay, so just to explain a little bit about the process. It's very sweet. It's like I have a friend with me all the time. People who are not open to this material could be like, oh my God, this poor girl has lived in LA for almost, what, has it been like 20 years, 21 years? And she's lost her mind. She thinks this imaginary friend, but it really is like having a friend with you all the time, because no matter what I'm personally experiencing, I have them to tune into, and to explain the process, like they're just kindly guiding me to be like, let's give a little context to the people you're talking to. They're always with me, and it's a lot like turning a dial on a radio where like I can be in this reality, or simply like when you're in the shower and you go from really freezing to like too hot. I can just turn the dial very, very, very slightly, and as long as I am in an absolutely sober state, like I can't even drink kombucha. Or actually the drink in the coffee, we were joking earlier, Doug, weren't we, about Douglas Doug. Because they always called Douglas Doug. His name is Doug in this reality, but he was born with the name and given the name at birth Douglas. And I was given the name at birth Tamsin with an S. And Morcott, my interpretation is, and I always be very careful to explain what is the difference between my interpretation when I'm speaking as Morcott. When I do these broadcasts, it's always as Morcott. This is the first time I've ever talked as me. But Morcott always speaks to people, addresses people as their birth name, which makes sense to me because I speak a lot about sovereignty. But my name I changed when I was 11 from an S to a Z or a Z. This was because the numerology was supposed to be more harmonious with a Z. And I was 11. I was like, oh, that sounds fun. I love Z's. Or Zs, as we call them in England. I was like, yeah, let's go. But when I wrote the first channeled book, my name came out with an S, which, if you can imagine, when you're used to writing your name the same way for many decades, there's no question, that's just your name. It's like second nature. It was very strange to then have my own hand write my name differently. And it was actually very validating for me, excuse me, because I was able to see this is not coming from my subconscious, which was something I struggled with. And Doug and I joke about, because he loves this one particular line that Morcott said, when I was after 3 months of writing the first book and just trying to get my head around this thing that was not logical, it wasn't explainable in any ideas I had understanding of. I was just trying to get my head around it. I was trying to be very scientific about the whole thing. I was like, oh, well, surely this must be coming from my subconscious on some level, in some way I just don't understand. There must be an explanation that is logical for this. And actually it is quite logical when you break it down. But in that moment, I wanted more like 3D earthly logic. That's kind of a naive way of putting it, but you know, I wanted something I'd been taught that had been validated from grown-up humans that told me they knew what they were talking about. And Morcott said to me, this is what Doug laughs about, Douglas Doug, he said, no offense, but at this stage in your personal development, you wouldn't be capable of such prose. It's like, oh God, I don't think I would have written that about myself. As much as I try to keep my ego in check, I'm like, I don't think I would have said that about me. That's like, it sounds like almost sassy, as Doug puts it, but Morcott's very straight to the point. They're also quite like jovial. They're funny. They're very humorous, but they don't sugarcoat things. And when we've created certain concepts and constructs in our culture which don't serve us, they just slice right through that. They're not like, you know, when it comes to certain ideas, they just kind of go straight to the point, regardless of where we're at culturally. When there might be great sensitivity about certain things, they are able to, because they exist from a place which is so zoomed out from everything, they're always gonna approach these things and acknowledge these things from that broadened perspective. So sometimes they can come across as a little harsh, but that wasn't really harsh. It was just them being like, let's give you perspective on this. You're not making this up. You wouldn't be capable of it. I was like, that's actually true. I wasn't capable of that at all. So I was planning on writing stories for books, not books, for screenplays, which I'd tried to do in the past, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get really good at that. And then when I realized how much better they were at writing than I am, I was like, okay, I'll get my coat. So now I decided there's nothing more interesting for me, useful for me, or useful for me to do on this earth than do the work that I essentially then learned I had come here to do. So I had to, it was a very humbling experience of like, I decided to give up acting. I decided to give up trying to write my own stuff, because this is just more interesting and useful for me and for others. And then it's been humbling having to kind of begin a new career. Oops, interesting. And also to kind of begin a new stage, and also to convince others that I'm doing this thing. Like, I'm not somebody who likes to be in a confrontational situation where I'm justifying myself or explaining myself. I don't like debates, for example. Probably shouldn't be actually telling you guys all this, but it's a very uncomfortable and humbling thing, frankly, to come out of the oracle closet. And so I guess it's probably a good time to say hi and then dip back into like my Morcott cloak. So let's see, we've got 15 minutes or less let's see how long they wish to speak for, but up to 15 minutes. Let me tune back into Morcott I still haven't really explained the process. Really quickly, Morcott, sorry. I get nervous and distracted because it's scary talking as me, honestly. But essentially, okay, they're like, settle in, explain the process. Okay, sorry. So what it is we do. Okay, so they speak about how we're all hybrids, right? So I'm not special or separate or different in any way. We're all equally special, as they've talked about, as like facets to this beautiful big diamond of all that is. We're all just as special and unique as one another. My particular hybridization happens to be part Lumerian, so that doesn't change anything other than the fact that I can vibrationally tune into them more easily because I'm more vibrationally in alignment with them. Specifically, someone else might be more vibrationally aligned to some other type of being that they have lineage with. I don't specialize in talking about different people's lineage, but I find it fascinating, or at least at this point, Morcott hasn't gone there. In one-on-one sessions, occasionally they'll talk about somebody's ancestral lineage, and that's not just as literal as this body in this incarnation having a female and male lineage that's created that immediate vessel, but it has to do with multidimensional lineage as well as the apparent linear reality that we think we're in here. So it's a merging of different veins of life that come together. So they speak about that to some degree. But the most important point I want to make here is that I'm not, Himony is different to everyone else as everyone else is to one another, and we're all hybrids. And so it's very important that we begin to understand that we're all hybrids and we're also not separate from one another. But my job in this life was to come here and to speak and write the words of the Lumerians because I have the ability to, it's like, for me, it feels like an energetic funnel. Like, I can feel the vibrational language, and together they assist me with putting those vibrational meanings into words that we can speak here on this planet and understand, because we haven't yet come to a place that we can fully speak without words, which is, of course, I think most of us understand that that's the direction we're moving in. Most of us have had experiences where with somebody we're very close to, perhaps our best friend or sister or whomever, someone we're close to, where we just already know what they're saying or thinking or feeling. So we're at some point going to move to that stage. It's sort of a little bit like that, where I can do that with them, and then they'll assist me in putting those words into human words that we can express together. And I think I touched on, or Morcott touched on before, that sometimes I'll try to find a word and there isn't a word for what they're saying, so I have to use this word / that word. And sometimes I will use a word that's not perfect, and then that won't resonate 100%. So they'll then assist me in replacing that word. So in that sense, it can be very slightly messy, but it's actually very direct communications. It's just a matter of matching the value of a human word with the vibrational meaning of the Lumerian message that's coming through. So essentially what I do is I merge with Morcott, who is a collective of light beings, because they know their oneness. They don't really exist in the same experience of separation which we exist within. And then they speak through me. And when I do one-on-one sessions with individuals, I do the same thing, but Morcott will merge with what I describe as a management team, like with the guides of the person that I'm working with, so that I can then speak for the guides of the person who I'm reading. And that helps them in hearing what they already know on a soul level, because we're always connected with our own guides. But it means that without having context necessarily for what they're experiencing, I can assist them in helping to facilitate the connection that they have with their own guides, because we all have guides that are with us all the time. one of the main messages that the guides want to give is that they're right there all the time, because so many of us feel a sense of loneliness, which is valid, but it's actually an illusion of an experience. So it's like a merging of sorts. I think we're going to tune back into Morcott now and let them say anything that they wish to say, and they may just want to sign off. But thanks for being with us today. Thanks for listening to this recording if it's on another day, and I hope that this journey is really helpful for you as it has been for me. Nice to meet you guys. I'm going to tune back into Morcott now. Indeed. Morcott's laughing at me for using so many words to say so little. Thanks, Morcott. Okay, tuning in. Indeed, we are here. We don't have anything else to say today unless there are questions from any of the receivers of this message. Thank you, Douglas. We will end here by explaining a little bit, indeed, about how to exist upon this plane when one is used to a higher vibrational value in one's surroundings or environment. We remind you of your sovereignty in every moment that we are able to. We wish for you to remember your reasons for coming here. Many of you feel victim to your surroundings, to your environment, when indeed it is the truth that you very much and very consciously chose to come here. And you chose to come here due to the lack of vibrational alignment many of you now feel victim to. We remind you of your powers. We remind you of your ability to create that which you wish upon a soul level. We remind you to choose your vibrational alignments, not in reference to that which surrounds you, but in reference to that which feels correct for you on a soul level. You came here not to align yourself with, lower yourself to the vibrational existence that is here, that was here when you arrived, but indeed you have come here to raise the vibration of this sphere. You cannot do so by stooping to the energies which currently exist here. You cannot do so by lowering your own vibration so as not to stand out as a wave higher vibrational value. Indeed, no. You have come here to facilitate the raising and vibration of this plane, almost all of you. So let us most astutely note what it is we feel to do in our every step available to us. No matter what stage you are at on your journey, no matter if you are not able to physically step, let us look most astutely at what feels correct as your next step, so to speak. Let us note most astutely what feels correct vibrationally for you to do. And let us act with accuracy in accordance to this true will. Your will is indeed your greatest power. Your will, at one with the will of the all, results in optimum expansion of all that is. Know your oneness, children, and indeed know your power. It is all that is.